Hi friends, hope you are doing well. I'm going to talk about the UPSC exams today. And essentially there is an obsession in India for government jobs. Many people want to give the UPSC exam and they think they can get into IAS, IPS, IRS and so on, the different services of the Indian government, and they can get a secure job for the rest of their life. So what has happened is that many people spend a lot of time preparing for this exam, and even before preparation what happens is that this obsession with government job actually corrupts the entire education system. So I'm going to give 7 points to you today about the dangers of the UPSC exam and how you can save yourself from this danger. Now, what happens is that while many people prepare for these exams, there are millions of people in India who are preparing for this exam. People who get are very few. So, in fact, the success ratio may be less than 1%. Now, what very often motivates the people to study for the UPSC exam is the power they see, which is manifested in different government positions, such as the collector, such as the police, such as the revenue service, and so on. And in India, there is also an obsession with status. So people often think that high status jobs are more important than necessarily jobs which involve high pay and more risk. Now, I'm going to say that actually UPSC shuts the mind in many ways. And this starts happening at the point even when people are in college or people are making decisions about what to study when they have finished class 12 or the board examination. Now, a lot of family pressure is involved here. Family spends a lot of money. There is emotional toll on the parents because of the students preparing for this exam for several years. And there is emotional pressure on the student also because the parents have high expectation from them. So nowadays there are a lot of movies, particularly if you see situation of people in various part of the north of the country. The people are suffering a lot because they spend years, even a decade, in preparing for these exams and they are not able to get in. So let's start with the 7 point. And the first point is about the BA degree. So this is the Bachelor of Art degree. It's a 3-year degree. And very often people actually decide to do the BA degree because they want to go into the UPSC exam system. So many people will say that there are certain subjects which are very good for the UPSC exam. For example, history, political science, sociology, even the languages. And so what people do is that they decide they will simply do the BA degree, which is the easiest degree for them to do. And then they will give the UPSC exam. So just after 3 years, if they were to crack the UPSC exam, they can be on their way to become an IAS and they can be very powerful. Now, what happens is that when these people are studying for the BA exam, they have no desire to work in the private sector. So they don't want to do any kind of internships. They also do not try to learn anything else. For example, they could have spent their time in learning some computer languages. They could have spent their time in learning research skills, in learning various tools out there, such as Microsoft Excel, programming language R, and so on, but they are simply not interested. In fact, the BA degree actually is very useful in building up soft skills, communication skills, and if we see the world today, it is actually often the humanities and arts graduates who tend to run the world. The engineering and science graduates are the guys who are working out in some lab and doing smaller things. But as far as the Indian system is concerned, because of this obsession with the UPSC exam, the subjects are simply an extension of the UPSC. So people only study the subjects as far as the UPSC syllabus is concerned, and they look at various guides and focus on those aspects. So there is no desire to generate practical skills. There is no desire to actually take part in internships and any such things. One more problem is that there may be many students who are suitable for vocational training, who may think about learning some actual valuable practical skill, but instead of that, they are going on this BA route and it's not going to help them too much. This again is an issue about status. Now, the number two is the BCom degrees. And again, the BCom or the Bachelor of Commerce, another 3-year degree, is very popular. Now, I knew of many people who used to do this degree and get CA, get various different exams and so on, and also work in banks and various financial institutions. But what have happened is that many people in the BCom system also think about getting into the UPSC. So again, the same problem happens. They don't want to do any internship. They don't want to learn any statistics. They don't want to learn languages such as R, Microsoft Excel, COBOL, Python, which can get them job. And in fact, anybody studying commerce can very simply learn about data analysis, which is a very hot field. They can get Google certifications, they can pick up some aspects of AI, and they can be well employed. But unfortunately, once they start into the UPSC mindset, they will only be studying the different subjects out there and try to get into UPSC. Now, the third is the BSc degree, and again, the BSc degree is typically a Bachelor of Science degree for 3 years. This could be a pathway to the MSc, even to the PhD. The person could think of becoming a scientist, maybe a physicist, a chemist, or an expert in bio, but instead, again, they choose these subjects with the idea that they are going to give the UPSC exam. So, again, this means that they are not interested in internship, they are not interested in research aspects, they are not interested in the art of writing papers. And so, what happens with that is their skills actually are very bookish, they are not able to get jobs, and they get into this UPSC rut. So this is the case of many of the graduates coming out of universities and colleges. I'm not talking of the institutes of technology with the 4 year degree. And the fact is that if BSc students put in effort, learned Python, learned Rust, learned any of the programming languages, then they could actually do many things in life. They could also go to institutions such as the IISER, the Indian Institute of Science, and do master's and PhD degree there. But very often they are enamored by the status which they think they will get from the UPSC system. Now, the fourth issue has to do with verbal skills. And very often, what happens that if you enter the job market, you are going to be judged on your verbal skills, particularly in the English language. And as far as India is concerned, the interviews and many such things, the group discussions are all conducted in the English language, and your English language has to be good in terms of vocabulary, in terms of pronunciation, in terms of diction, in terms of grammar. And in many cases, people who are preparing for UPSC, they have a certain style of answering the various questions. They do not feel the need to improve their communication and verbal skill as far as the English language is concerned. And so you even have graduates in literature, you have graduates in history who are not able to speak the English language properly, and certainly they are not going to get any job out there. The other problem is even if they did qualify in the UPSC exam system, they will have problems when they go to the interviews and so on. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, the point number five has to do with quantitative skills and analytical skills. And these are some of the skills which are tested, for example, in exams such as CAT, which is required by the Indian Institute of Management. But if many of these guys who are preparing for UPSC actually try to give the CAT exam, they will find that they have a lot of lacuna in terms of these skills. I would encourage all the graduates out there or people in the BA, BSc, BCom type of systems that try to give the CAT exams, because in fact the Indian Institute of Management and the MBA degree is actually a better degree out there if you want to get a job, and the probability sometime of getting through these exams is more. Beside the Indian Institute of Management, there are many other institutes out there, pretty good institutes, which also give out the MBA degree, so do consider it. You will see that in many interview settings, people will ask you to do puzzles, people will ask you to do chess problems, people will ask you to do different word problems. So if you ever look at the interviews typically which are taking place in startups or companies such as Meta, Google, and so on, they often try to test these different skills. Now, if you look at the US system examinations such as SAT, which is required at the end of class 12, or exams such as the GRE or GMAT, which is required at the end of the bachelor degree, these exams are a good guide as to the type of skills you need to compete in the global market. So, of course, you can get yourself one of these guides. They are out there in any bookstore, and just see how you do in terms of the different test papers involved. And you can try to bring up these skills so that you are more competitive in the job market. All these skills will come out during the interview process, because nowadays the interview people, the HR experts, they have a lot of expertise on these different type of testing techniques. Now, the number six issue has to do with a case of 10 years wasted or the youth is gone. So essentially, there are people who spend a decade in preparing for these exams and giving these exams. And I have seen even some of the children of my relatives and so on, that what's happening is that they have been preparing for the UPSC exam for a long time after they have finished their degree. And what happens is that if you ask them what they are doing, they have a very nice answer out there that they are preparing for the UPSC exams. Years go by and unfortunately nothing happens. And this is the case of the boiled frog syndrome. The theory is that if you were to place a frog in hot water it would immediately jump, but if you place a frog in cool water and then you very slowly warm it, the frog is basically going to drown and boil without knowing it. So this is the case which is happening with many of the UPSC students, is that they are simply studying out there and they are slowly getting the pressure, and the melancholia is building up in their system, and ultimately this is not good for them. So you should save your life by getting out of this UPSC mindset. Now, one more thing which many people, of course, benefit from is the different coaching institutes. And of course, there is a huge coaching industry out there in terms of the IAS coaching, UPSC coaching. And sometimes the people who have given these exams many times, they join these coaching institutes and continue this cycle. This certainly is not a good thing to do. You are actually becoming part of the system which you should try to dismantle. Finally, the seventh point is, what are the things you can do to remove this problem or to reduce this problem? And these are things which probably the government can do. The government can reduce the number of times people can give the UPSC exam, so this could be reduced to 2, for example. And also the age, so the age of 25 years should be a limit after which you should not be able to take the UPSC exam. So this will essentially free the people, because they will not have to spend most of their youth life where they are most productive in preparing for exam. There are many things they can do out there. They can start their business, they can start a shop, they can start a restaurant, they can start a food place, they can do many things. And as far as the service industry is concerned, that is going to grow rapidly, and many more people should actually think of doing something with their degree rather than seeking the government job. So I hope this video will help at least one student or their parent to get out of this UPSC mode. There are a lot of UPSC motivation videos out there. This is, I think, one of the few UPSC demotivation videos, and I hope it will help you.